Did you know if you drop a like and subscribe in the next 5 seconds, nothing will happen but it will put a giant smile on my face? Despite the start of Fortnite Chapter 3 Season 2 being recent, we're already 13% through the season's completion, with it being clear in everywhere now that the Imagined Order and 7 are fully at war, or war is in full effect against the two factions. Despite the map changes we're going to be seeing also portraying this over the next few weeks, and even things pouring out in the updates, 4 of which we're going to be seeing big ones of this season according to Sheena, one of the main questions everybody's wondering about are, where did Klombos go? Literally, these giant cute beasts had no intention of ever harming anyone or the island itself, just wanted to eat their Klomberries. Well, in today's video, we're going to be revealing where they've been put by the Imagined Order, and more specifically, a potential in-game mini-live event revealing them back onto the island from where they've been imprisoned. And oh yeah, considering 20.10's already on the staging servers, just a bunch of other information and leaks pouring out that you guys will find interesting, so if you haven't already decided to sit back, relax with your favourite snacks to stick around and watch the full video, I definitely highly recommend doing so. In return for this information, one favour you can do for me, considering it's 100% free to do, is enter code FM1 inside the Fortnite item shop right now or the next time you log onto Fortnite. Entering this code not only puts a giant smile on my face, but also cheers up my pug Gus, as he's been kinda sad about the fact he knows 70% of you watching right now are not subscribed. So if you hit the big red button right now, we're incredibly close, as you can see, to 2.4 million, so you, yes the individual, may be the 2.4 millionth subscriber. After all, this only benefits you too, considering I give different subscribers every single day who are simply, yes, subscribe to the channel with all notifications turned on, and then comment their Epic Games ID down below and potentially what they'd like to receive, so yeah, that could be you gifted in front of hundreds of thousands of eyes to see in the very next video on the channel. But with that said, now enough messing around, we've got a ton of crazy intel to go over today, including the location potentially of Klombos, so make sure of course you don't go anywhere.
Don't go anywhere.
I'm not, I'm sitting on my
Don't
back.
go anywhere.
Just before we dive into all that interesting stuff, I'm happy to announce that today's video is sponsored by Switchcraft. For those of you looking to be entertained in more than just one way by playing a game, Switchcraft has you covered. From clicking the link at the top of this video description or down below in the pinned comment, you can immerse yourself in the spellbinding world of Switchcraft for completely free and experience a blend of TV-worthy writing whilst also being able to choose your own adventure through 1,000 plus magical match 3 levels. With this being a graphic novel style mobile game where we can determine our own story, this literally is like, yeah, watching a show and playing a game at the same time. You're getting double the satisfaction or entertainment value out of it. The story itself starts out with Bailey, a freshman at a top witchcraft academy, and Bailey's best friend has disappeared and she needs your help to get to the bottom of the mystery when it comes to her journey. You as an individual are in the driver's seat, with our 400 plus choices able to be made mattering, so yeah, it's safe to say we need to choose wisely. I'm telling you guys, the entertaining gameplay, the amazing artwork and bright colours make this game nothing like any other on the mobile market today, so make sure to go and click the first link in the video description or down below in the pinned comment and download Switchcraft for completely free now, and I'll see you guys on your adventure. Okay, so to start out with, if you've been living under a rock, as you can see, the trailer in the background clearly shows up a trace that building hasn't returned when Epic Games initially said it would do on the 29th of March 2022, I believe. Of course, what's responsible for this is the feedback they've been receiving off not only influencers saying that the game feels fresher than it has in years, but maybe even the player base has increased too, or not noticed as much of a drop off at the start of a season as they usually do. Of course, now my best guess is that building's going to be returning to normal core modes such as solos, duos, trios, and squads in the 20.10 update. I nearly said 19.10 right there, as this, according to Sheena, has just now been put onto the staging servers, meaning it's releasing next week because the update's ready to go, it's been tested, and yeah, at the flick of a switch, literally Epic Games after some downtime can release this. Of course too, based off the initial map changes of the Season 2 island in itself, we not only, yes, notice the big blimps in the sky, but the big guys on the island, which we're going to be diving further into, Klombos disappearing, yeah, in just a second or further in the video. Speaking of the map itself, or the overview of it, or our mini-map amplified on our quest menu, as you can see, there's areas of which are blue and red. Of course, the red representing where the Imagined Order are currently stationed or actually have control over, and then the blue, well, where the 7 have control over or are stationed. With us also recently receiving this free loading screen called Foiled Plans, which clearly shows the frustration of Dr. Sloan, well, not getting her control over the island after disabling builds as part of the lore or story in the trailer. It looks like things are not only going her way, but for the Imagined Order overall, and that's about to be more in jeopardy, the success of the Imagined Order, due to, well, 20.10 implementing 2 particular vehicles that the 7 are going to be using to gain more control of the island. To start out with, that was initially teased in the Naomi Osaka trailer, trailer is the chopper, believe it or not, but revamped to be, well, the 7 chopper, obviously physically looking like it belongs to members of the 7 or they've created it. And in case you haven't noticed now that the tanks around the map are solely belonging to the Imagined Order or can only be found in the Imagined Order zone of this red ring, yeah, the 7 are going to be firing back literally with their own tanks, as these are what they look like currently in the files. And according to Hypex right here, whether this happens in 20.10 or not, the upcoming map changes to do with the 7 who are blue and supposedly will take the IO tanks, turrets and outposts, turning them well into their own. And then furthermore, interestingly, these areas that are currently marked, being the Daily Bugle, Tilted Towers, and also I believe Rocket Reels, are going to be having blimps crashed into them. How this is going to be done we don't entirely know as of now, but I'm guessing the IO guards on them that are operating as NPCs anyways when we land on there are going to be safe due to the implementation of jetpacks, which were again shown for the first time in the Zero build trailer that Fortnite did release just a few days ago. And speaking of no builds, considering this is literally the Zero build trailer and it's after March 29th when building was meant to return, we've got you covered. As Hypex stated, there's separate no building modes that they can enable any time after this limited time event ends, being, well, no build or Zero build itself, and they change most loading screen tips to say in modes with building enabled, implying, well, that they can have this enabled or non-enabled feature. Even with building returning, however, there's something currently vaulted that everybody wants to see, as it literally got us around the map instantaneously in Chapter 3 Season 1, as the Daily Bugle still stands being the primary name location responsibility for this being implemented, and these being the mythic web slingers. Despite it not being currently known if they're permanently vaulted now or even releasing in the set amount of days when Prowler returns, as Prowler is the uncle of Miles Morales, and obviously that then implies itself that Miles Morales will be releasing as a skin, with Donald Mustard also teasing further Spider-Man collaboration or skins through changing his banner to, well, literally Spider-Man on Twitter. Fear not if none of this speculation or theory comes to be, as we're going to be soon seeing the introduction, or should I say return, of a brand new vehicle to this chapter anyways, as it literally was dormant for the whole of Chapter 2, being the Ballers introduced in Chapter 1 Season 8. Hypex had this to say about them on screen. Basically, they've been buffed since they were last shown in Fortnite or implemented despite the World Cup coming around, which then they got nerfed for. And for those that don't know what the Ballers are, as you can see from the gameplay in the background right now of me either swinging around or showing the trailer, yeah, they're basically like Spider-Man's mythic web slingers, but picture it of having a giant bubble surrounding you. Speaking of bubbles though, not these hamster balls, kinda like the sideways, so Egyptian Leaker says right here, in terms of more map changes further on going to establish the war between the Imagined Order and the 7, there's supposedly a new 7 versus IO encounter thing in the works, which may be similar to the sideways encounters with, well, all of the cube monsters and even the caretakers, where we will fight IO guards in 3 stages to reclaim 5 main POIs. When an encounter starts supposedly too, it should play the IO music from Chapter 2 Season 5. Speaking of things upcoming changed slightly, however, in a unique way, for those wondering if this is the pump shotgun in the gameplay or clip that Fortnite tweeted out about, it's actually a brand new pump shotgun called the Pump V2, so Hypex is referring to, and supposedly these are all of the upcoming shotgun stats. This one has a large single barrel on the shotgun, mixture of the pump and the double barreled. It shoots 1 bullet then reloads just like the double barrel animation. As for other weapons returning, it was also teased in the April crew pack trailer that soon the LMG will be upcoming, which also was another thing tweeted out about by Hypex in terms of this returning due to stats being updated. And despite the hunting rifle being altered in the game's coding to be nerfed, as you can see, Hypex also stated, believe it or not, one of the most powerful weapons in the game's coding actually got buffed in terms of damage it will deal to any type of structure or vehicle when it returns this season, which is around 640 to 660 damage dealt from 1 shot of the heavy sniper. If that did shock you, then if you didn't already know about what's been happening with Fortnite or Epic Games contributing to the cause over at Ukraine, they tweeted out as of last night that they've raised over $100 million to support, well, humanitarian relief for people affected by the war in Ukraine. And despite this being a giant W for Epic Games and the community by, yeah, supporting the game and making sure this season launches as a success, speaking of war but referring back to the one waged in-game, fictionally between the Imagined Order and the 7, of course the main question everybody's wondering about due to, well, chaos reigning over the island right now for control over it by either faction, what happened to the Klombos and where are they? Hopefully they're still alive, people are wondering, and it's looking kind of unlikely with only one thing to back that up, which we're going to be covering in a second. For those that don't know, these are the spawn locations for the Klombos previously on the island, and as you can see, there's kind of several craters in most specifically some of these areas where Klombos did spawn that have been destroyed by the Imagined Order taking over the island when they've, well, took station over it. Of course, the Klombos were completely huge, and we'd know if they'd literally fled to somewhere if it were big enough to fit them in anyways, and there's not many places this could be on the island. Like, literally, yeah, you will not find a single Klombo around Season 2's map. And sadly, to back up the fact furthermore that they may be extinct now on the Battle Royale Island, despite one that's trapped, which again we're going to be revealing the location for in in just a second. In this particular loading screen showing the big IO drill and, well, everything else underneath the ground that was around it when it drilled out from underneath it in the Season 2 trailer, we can see these remains right here, which we know don't belong to the Catus or Polar Pink monster due to us knowing the skull structure of this from Chapter 1 Season 9. Is this a Klombo skull, and is this representing their extinction? I certainly hope not, because if anyone harms these cute creatures, as Fortnite said when Tilted Towers was added, they'd have to wipe out the entirety of Tilted. As for our hope that they will return, there is one thing that people are hanging on a thread from, and that is the Imagined Order giant vault, which clearly a Klombo was big enough to fit inside or could hold it. And more interestingly, the theory about this, if we go over to it, we can actually hear some distant groans or roars or cries of a potential trapped Klombo, perhaps being the last of its kind, protected due to it, well, not wanting to go extinct by the Imagined Order. Listen to this clip closely right now, tell me what you think in the comments down below if you haven't heard the cries before, and yeah, is this a Klombo or is it something else? Whilst you're commenting down below what you believe the noise of that creature to be, fingers crossed they haven't trapped the final Klombo and are trying to brainwash it like they did John Jones in this seat anyways, as we know the Imagined Order go to such lengths. And fingers crossed, as you can see in this concept trailer right now of Klombos returning in a 7-themed uniform, they're not used in the war or fought against each other, controlled by either faction. To stay up to date with everything Fortnite, of course, don't forget to subscribe to the channel with all notifications turned on, and drop a like in today's video if you want to keep referring back to it or any of the information. Speaking of other videos or your next destination now, however, make sure to click anything on screen, but most importantly, hopefully I can catch you, yes, you the individual still watching, I can see you, but hopefully in the very next video I do post on the channel.